So we should see the slide in the session, and a quick brief overview of what we're going through in this in the next 45 minutes. We'll look at how the XFT personnel file can bring formerly paper files, now electronic files to life using your investment into SAP ERP HCM, or nowadays also SuccesFactors, SAP Mobile Docs, and SAP Fiori UI5. We talk a little bit about how you can improve HR business processes and how you can free up HR professionals, managers, and employees to focus on more value-added tasks rather than just handling paper, moving documents around. We touch on how we implemented the solution in about 25 days at a major US corporation, and give some demos on our integration and an outlook on SAP Fiori, and talk a little bit about the architecture, technology, and what we bring to you as XFT as a company. So what do we hear from our clients? Why do people even do electronic personnel files? And what we see many people talk about is that the management wants the HR team to be a more proactive force in the organization, but they can't really fulfill that task and step up because there's so much administrative work, so many rules to comply with, so many documents to maintain, retention management. If you look overseas in an international operation, you not only have to deal with local US regulations, but also with overseas regulations. There's new regulations coming out every day. So it's not only about how you run your HR organization using SAP's tools and technologies, but also how do you support that information you have in your SAP systems, be that SuccessFactors or the SAP HCM solution, the on-premise solution. It's also about the supporting documents and following the compliance rules and regulations around that. It gets a bit easier if you have a shared service center, because then you really concentrate the knowledge in one location, and that is one other main reason why using electronic personnel files is so much more advantageous than using paper files, because everything is in one place and you can remotely access it from anywhere by just clicking a button. So those are some of the main reasons that drive our customers, and many of our customers start locally in one region and then expand out to multiple regions. The electronic personnel file as a mantra, we have tried to bring what we try and do together in one statement, and we want to offer a deep integration of formerly unstructured steps, meaning steps handling paper that were basically done by the individual administrators or managers or employee in an arbitrary fashion, and bring that these unstructured steps into your HR system, and with that allow the organization to flexibly design their processes and create maximum impact for all stakeholders. And while this is a mouthful, I think it concisely brings together what we set out to do. And we do that by managing emails, paper records, faxes, and have all these added as completely integrated steps into the existing HR processes and make them part of the permanent record. We look at this from the perspective of three different personas: the HR professional, the manager, or the employee. And let's jump right into the first persona here and look at what the HR professional is concerned about. And most of the time when we talk to HR professionals, it's a lack of time administrative tasks take too much work. They're focused on non-essentials, too much time spent on document gathering and filing, and there are severe compliance gaps. They are struggling to enforce internal and external compliance rules, and that all leads to a lack of strategic focus in the day-to-day HR work. So what can we do about it? We can start looking to improve the work by using integrated process management, either in on-premise or in SuccessFactors, and with that, give the users an application that looks pretty much like this, like the SAP screen, the SAP GUI screen we chose as an example here for you to look at. And this is a custom add-on transaction that's provided by SAP. It shows the images on the left-hand side, and it shows the folder structure that clearly outlines what the different areas, sub-areas, and document types are that are in that particular person's personnel file. And you can, as you can do with any file system, you can fold it up, you open it up, and each one of these files, these nodes, as we call them, are actionable. So you can either double click on them and open them up, or you can have workflow processes kicked off, and there's a number of tasks that are listed up here that can be started to kick off processes and integrate with other SAP transactions. Most of that can be customized, and it can be customized either on an individual basis. It is actually customizable by role in your organization, meaning you can use that customization, that role definition, to give people access to certain functional or take certain access away. Now, we'll see more in the demo, and Chris will do a demo here in just a bit. But with that in mind, we all of a sudden have a proactive HR professional that has way less admin effort, has a fast view on documents. Compliance can be ensured because we can structure and automate and put compliance processes into workflows, and we have reports that check on compliance. For example, I-9 forms. Does every person in the organization have an I-9 form? There's specific reports around that, and many other things where you have rules and regulations that specifically apply to your industry. With all of that, we get more focus, less focus on administration and paper shoveling, more focus on strategic work, and with that, a big benefit to the organization overall. Now, similar aspects apply to a line manager and to an employee. Because we only have 45 minutes, I'm not looking at detail at these different personas, but the full extent of this slide presentation, which we're very willing to repeat in an extended fashion for you in a personalized web demo, will show you how the XFT Person Alpha also affects these individuals. They gain more transparency. All the information all of a sudden is in one place, clarity on processes, and a much better integration with the HR organization as a partner. In addition, it takes down what I like to bring up as an example, and that is it takes down those shadow file structures that every manager has in their desk drawers. And I've been a manager of a team of 30 people at some point, and I did the same thing. Whenever a personnel document came across my desk, I either made a copy of it, or I kept it on my computer, or I printed it out and put it in my drawer, and then we had an open door policy and people could come in and out of my office. So it was way too little security around sensitive documents, not to speak of any type of retention management, documents that shouldn't be there because they were private, or that should be deleted after a person left the organization. All that file handling that is necessary these days because there is European regulations about privacy rules, all that was unhinged because we you couldn't possibly maintain information that was kept in every manager's drawer. Now, if you have all that information electronically available, that completely eliminates the need for those shadow files. So a big plus, a big argument for an electronic personnel file. From the view of an employee, they all of a sudden have access to their personnel file. They can check it, they can look at it, and there is never a feeling of being out of touch with HR. No more mystery. What kind of documents do they have on me? You have the right as an employee in many cases, in many states, in many countries, to take a look at your file. There's automated ways how you can do that, and there is specific functions within the XFT solution to grant employees on request a temporary access to their files, which is great because it doesn't open up any security holes. There's no documents that have to be sent around in emails, which again would create copies of files and insecurity, missing security, and it creates much more visibility, control, and again, employees that are not worried about their information, their security, but employees that are confidently set free to do what they're hired for, be a productive member of your organization that is confident that their personnel data and personal data is handled securely. We have a couple of demo scenarios that we can show you. We have a classical case review scenario that highlights the navigation of the solution, document display, bookmark functionality, and notes functionality, and a full offer letter scenario with multiple people. File system shows file system integration, how you drag and drop documents into it. Then workflows, approval workflows, pre-built and open, ESS, MSS integration and self-service functionality, role-specific document access, as well as reports and statistics for built-in retention management and document user statistics, as well as missing document checks. Now, because we don't have that much time today, we'll see a glimpse into a case review scenario in probably an offer letter scenario, but only the drag and drop and file system integration part. And maybe instead of the offer letter, we might show an I-9 scenario. So I think we have reached the point where we want to do a demo, and I'll hand it to Chris for a demonstration of the system.
Thank you, Jochen. Just give me a check here. Can you see my screen?
I still see my demo screen, and I need to find the screen. Yes, I can see your screen.
Perfect. Okay. All right, everyone. Let's dive right into our demo portion. Before we start, I just want everyone to assume we are in HR administration, and our task today is to look up an employee's file, and that employee is Carl Hughes today. The screen we're currently in is PA20. It's a standard SAP transaction. Some people might be familiar with it. But from here, you go to your generic service for objects button, and you would simply click on XFT personnel file, and this will put you right into the XFT personnel file. So there's three things I want to cover today with you is how to navigate through the electronic personnel file, what's a file folder structure, and how to get documents into the system. First, I want to cover file folder structure. File folder structure is the #1 most important thing when you go out and you're ready to start an electronic personnel file project. In our personnel file folder, the XFT personnel file folder, it is broken into folder, subfolder, and then your actual documents. And subfolder is actually the most important because this is where the unique document types are going to live. So this is a application, so you would have your application letter, I-9 form, resume. Just with your job offer, you would have your offer letter, contracts, and those are unique to every single folder, and that's how you get structure. So if everybody can remember, just folder, subfolder, and then actual documents. Now we'll jump into a little bit of navigation. So how do we navigate a personnel file folder? So an obvious one is, hey, we just simply click on, double click, or folder, and then screen will split in half, and then you have your application letter right to your right side. You can use the top node functions just to navigate more freely. Up-down cursors, pretty self-explanatory. My favorite way to navigate the personnel file folder structure is the icon view, and this is by far the most useful function of the personnel file folder. It gives you a picture of the first document in every single actual document type. So we're looking for an I-9 again. We can simply click on it on the left side. We recognize the document. Screen will split into thirds now, and to the right will display the actual document. We can go to another one. Resume, screen will split in half to the right. Click out of this, get out of this. We could also set, so there's a lot of other functions. I don't want to get too far into it, but we could create notes here. We could create bookmarks. Very easy to navigate, and there's a lot of functionality here that I'm leaving out. So if anybody has some questions, I would love to give you a further demo. But we're out of navigation, we're out of file folder structure. The question still is probably out there, is how do we get documents into the personnel file folder structure? There are 3 scenarios that you can get personnel file folders. You could do a file system, you could do Outlook integration, and there's actually a 3rd scenario called barcoding. We're only going to focus on the file system today. And the file system, just to paint a picture for everyone, let's just say we have a document we want to get in that's in paper form. So we would go to our desktop scanner or local file scanning center. We would scan the document, and then it's saved, say, in the right to a local file share. So we go to our local file share. We would click, let's see, we want to do an I-9 form. Let's just do an offer letter. So we click on the offer letter. Nope, sorry. Allow. So we click on the offer letter. We want to just check, hey, is this the correct document? Yep, XYZ company, offer letter, perfect. So from here, the right-hand side, we're on the offer letter, and again, we go and put it into a subfolder, because this is where our document types live. And this is the example we're going to see is where we can select an actual document type. Oops, sorry. Oh, got to be in change mode. Sorry. There we go. So we drag and drop into our application documents. Give it a second. It's a live system. So now we have, so this application document, we have our document types. And now we can select what type of actual document it is, resume, reference letter, I-9 form. So we'll just call it an application letter for test, and we'll call it a test doc. You have the entry date here. We click on the right OK sign. The screen, on the bottom left of your screen, you should see a little check mark here. And to the right, copy was successfully saved, and that means that the document has been sent to the content repository. It is saved there, and every time you click on this, say, test document here, it calls the content repository, and you should now be able to see the document we just saved. And yep, there again, to the right is your actual document. At this point, it concludes what I wanted to cover today in today's demo. Always please reach out to us. We'd love to show you more of the system. And we'll actually show you another, further into this webinar, we'll show you a little bit more of new functionality coming out of XFT. But at this time, I just want to pass it over to Jochen Hager to conclude our webinar here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And I should be back on with the demo screen.
Yep, I see demo.
Okay, great. Now, here's what we're trying to do with this, and as summarizing the gist of what we are setting out to bring to your organization. We're trying to take all the disparate files we have in many places in your organization. As I said, the challenge is that you have personnel files without a centralized service center in every plant, in every regional office throughout the world. There is usually companies that have been added through mergers or acquisitions to your main organization, and these companies come with their own personnel file structures. We have worked with many clients that do not have a worldwide unique or not even a US-wide unique personnel file structure. And in addition to all the other requirements you have, that makes it even harder to conform with all the regulations you have today. So we're setting out with the XFT product to turn these files that are throughout the organization into a structured personnel file that's in one location under one structure. The structure is very flexible. It can be set up for regions. It can be set up for different countries. It can be different for Canada than for the US, for Europe, and different countries in Europe for Asia. But of course, you can go overboard with any type of customization. So we help you, guide you through that process and find the right granularity of personnel file structure that's correct and appropriate for your organization. And then we add process structure, we add authentication and authorization, all based on SAP, and we add security and compliance functionality. So all that allows for now easy access to faxes and electronic documents, highly structured and standardized processes, very flexible ad hoc process management that's built into the solution. And because it's easy to handle, a very low training and ramp-up cost while achieving a high level of compliance with international rules and regulations. So all of that is achieved by bringing structure to your personnel file. And just to explain to you a little bit how we arrive there in a real customer example, this is a copy of a slide presentation that was done at a regional ASOC and done by one of our customers. And you will see that some of the words and terms are not quite what I use, but that gives it more authenticity because it is actually what the customer used to call it. So instead of electronic personnel file, they called it electronic file management system. And before that, they had all employees' files in hard copy in various locations around the world. They had no consistency in their filing approach. They had no integration with SAP, and in general, poor data quality because there were no standards and no way to enforce any standards. In terms of compliance, document retention was completely inconsistent or non-existing in some locations, and there was no business continuity. If a paper file was lost, it was lost. There was no copy of it. If a flood or a fire event would have affected one of the offices, those files would have been gone for good without backup. There was no compliance with any audit requirements, even though there were strong audit requirements. They were just unable to comply with because of the missing tool support, and no authorization-based roles for viewing documents. Viewing a document was based on a gatekeeper person who was in each region blocking access to the personnel file by basically holding the key to a secured room. Now, with using an electronic personnel file, all of a sudden, all the employee records were accessible electronically to all the managers. There was a global consistent filing approach. There was data management integrated into the SAP HCM system and now also in SuccesFactors, and improved data quality. The document retention was now manageable consistently across the world, and there was business continuity guarantee for the first time because there were backups and electronic copies of the personnel file through regular IT center backup mechanisms. They were now able to fulfill their audit requirements, and all access was completely managed by SAP roles in SAP HCM and or SuccessFactors, and could be designed by per person, per group or individual in the organization. And the overall implementation took a mere full duration of about 6 months. There was about a month of pre-work. Then there was about 2 months of design and configuration. That is what usually where we get involved to help with 20 to 30 days of implementation, and a internal test period, and then what they called an implementation period, which wasn't the customizing implementation. This was actually the rollout. In their words, they called the rollout and implementation, and then a period of stabilization, which meant any adjustment and feedback that was brought up from the general user universe was built into the system, and that was accompanied by communication change management as well as project management throughout the whole time frame. But with about 25 to 30 days of consulting and about 6 months of elapsed time, we were able to set up a complete personnel file structure for that organization. And again, here, this is what Chris showed us, just a visual how that can look. And now, going into some of the technical aspects in the future, we also have a HANA Cloud integration now with the latest release of our product that allows integration with SuccessFactors in the same way as many other applications are integrated, directly pulling up a personnel file screen from your SuccessFactors application while maintaining the same security and stability of the solution supported in a NetWeaver backend scenario. Now, with that, I would do like a quick demo before I have a few closing words on technology, and I give it back to Chris.
Thank you, Jochen. Okay, everyone, let's. I want to jump back into the demo scenario. This is exciting for us this year. It's very new. We are currently in SuccessFactors Employee Central. Some people might recognize it, but just to paint a quick picture, again, we're the same scenario. We are Emily Clark, okay, and we are HR administration, and we're actually we're looking up Carl Hughes's employee file folder. So just to give you a quick demo here, we'll go to the org chart. We can see Carl Hughes's team, but truthfully we want to see Carl Hughes's personnel file folder. So how do we get there? We click on Carl Hughes, hit take action, and then we see take action, we see personnel file folder. So we click personnel file folder, and this will kick us to one of our UI5 applications, and now we can actually view our personnel file folder. So the same structure that we just learned is that we just had. So we saw in the SAP subgo we use the test document. It's here. It still needs to load, but we can click on the next one. We see our application letter. We see an I-9 form, and we see our resume. This is another form, a way of why XFT is the right choice in the personnel file sector. Is we're really looking to grow with all SAP's avenues and the way they're going forward, and this is very, very new for us. If Jochen, if we could go back to the slides, I just want to show everybody.
Absolutely. If you make me presenter again, I will go back to showing. Thank you.
Yep. I just want to show a few slides here. The next one. So we have SAP mobile documents. This is a little architecture. So we're actually developing our own iOS app, which is pretty exciting for XFT. If we go to the next slide. What we just saw is our UI5 and the mobile application. So UI5 is the newest look and feel for SAP. It's now offered through us, and yeah, I just want everybody to know that we are willing to grow with you, whatever plan, whatever. If you're still on premise, you're going to cloud, you're going to SuccessFactors, we're willing to grow with you. And that concludes today's demo, and we'll go further into the webinar, and hopefully there's some good questions.
Thank you. So summarizing the approach we're taking, we want to make sure that we're not duplicating any of the data that you currently have in SAP ERP HCM or SuccessFactors. XFT is strictly using secured and defined interfaces that SAP makes available, either through reading data directly through our ABAP code or using the HANA Cloud Platform interfaces to read data from SuccessFactors. So no data duplication, no outside system, no bolt-on solution tightly integrated with everything you have today in SAP. And why would you do anything else? Because that's what you already paid for. That's where your data is, and that's where it should be. And if it needs to be presented in different ways, or if it needs to be used for workflow processes, then the data should be read without delay directly from the one true source, which is your SAP or SuccessFactors system. We use integrated authorization management. We do not believe in setting up separate roles or separate file access. We believe in all the document types and processes and transactions all being controlled by SAP access rights. And again, why would you maintain, if you have a 5,000 or 6,000 people organization, or even a 20,000 people organization, why would you set up a new login for everybody and maintain new roles and access rights for everybody in your organization, forcing them to potentially use new passwords if you have it all with a single sign-on available in SAP? So built on standards using employee self-service and management self-service is built on standards by using SAP Archive Link to connect to repositories that are integrated with SAP transactions, and also connected to a potentially growing need in your organization for personnel, for document handling functionality. So the XFT does not only offer and promote a personnel file, while the electronic personnel file is our flagship product, we also have other file management flavors for IT contract management or purchasing contracts management, project files, PPAP files, standard operation procedure managers, and many other solutions, including an invoice manager that are built on our secure XFT Task Manager, Compliance Cycle, and Queue Manager framework that powers all these solutions within your system and provides one common base for all of them. Now, XFT was founded in 2002, so it has quite some history, by 4 German engineers, Thorsten Fenske, Volker Kohlstetter, Gerhard Scherer, and Norbert Schröder. All 4 of them are still active in the company and have been guiding the company since their founding days to what it is today, a worldwide operating company with a team of SAP experts. We have major locations in Waldorf, in Fort Lauderdale, in Berlin, in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and you can just find more about our company by going to our homepage at www.xft.com. Now, all our solutions are SAP certified. We recertified every single year, and we are 100% powered by SAP. All the support uniquely comes through the SAP Service Marketplace. We have our own component ID, and you can select us by going to by choosing our part number and the entry for XFT when you create a ticket or you want to download our software, we need to be available for support. All of that is done through the SAP support ticket system. So even there, we follow our mantra of not doing anything outside, but strictly following the tight integration we want to present into SAP to all of our clients and customers. Now, concluding this, a few key points to take home. The XFT Personnel File bridges the gap between electronic and document-based information. Integration into SAP is the basis for our process continuity and transparency. And standard and ad hoc workflows make HR process management fully compliant. Now, with that, we achieve speed up. We're speeding up the implementation and creation processes, and we improve the compliance with any adopted standards. Now, the XFT Personnel File achieves with that a highest level of integration transparency, while at the same time being flexible and customizable to the highest extent. Now, with that, that concludes the facts and figures and demos for this webinar. But Chris, we probably have a number of questions, so let me hear what some of our participants were asking.
Sure. I want to thank everybody for joining us. But again, to answer some of the questions, they're already starting to come in. Questions you can type at the bottom right of your screen. First question we actually have is, when will customers start to see a return on investment from transitioning from paper to electronic personnel files?
I think customers will see a return right away. If you look at the timeline we shared with you earlier, one of our customers put together, you will see that after just 6 short months of implementation time, everybody in the organization will be able to use the electronic personnel file. That's really where the benefit for everybody kicks in. Now, if you look at monetary return on investment, how long does it usually take to pay back for such a solution? I think that probably, obviously it depends on the size of your organization in terms of licensing costs. Maybe your implementation is multinational, and with that it requires more than the 30 days, or you have specific requirements that might require some third-party system you want to be integrated with, or some special scanning requirements that would push us over the 30 days, but with and that obviously influences the return on investment. But I would say in average a year and a half max until you see not only direct improvement of work capabilities and daily work habits, but also financial return on investment.
Okay, perfect. Next question. What is the timeline for implementation?
That is very much what we showed earlier in that overview. So we usually like to get your organization started with some housekeeping tasks that you need to get worked out internally. You need to define your business requirements. We need to do some key decisions. You need to put a team together, and most important, you need to define your document structure. So you need to do a little bit of pre-analysis in terms of what personnel file flavors do we have in our organization. Are they unique? Are they different? Do we have any regional discrepancies? And our XFT team is more than capable to help you with that and guide you through the process and really help you find out what are best practices, what should you look for, how can you go about with that analysis, and that should really be done in that pre-work section. Ideally, you have a good idea of what you're setting out to do before we start. And then we go through the implementation as described. Now, another important part is digitizing your existing paper records. That in itself takes time and effort because the documents need to be scanned and we can give you good references for outside scan service providers that have done an excellent job for us in the past, and that definitely adds to it. But after just a few short months, you will be able to load your system with documents. Thank you.
All right. Next question is kind of a two-part question. It's one from both people. Does XFT only work on SAP, and does XFT have the capability for e-personnel files for PeopleSoft system, or primary employee record system is PeopleSoft, not SAP?
We have to say that because of that strong integration with SAP, we do at a minimum. Let me start again. Because of that integration with SAP, you get the most out of a direct integration with SAP, with reading data out of the SAP database. And now only if you run an SAP NetWeaver platform, you could maintain and structure the solution outside, but it would not be an ideal choice. So to be very frank with you, the best benefit of our solution really is in the SAP on-premise or SuccessFactors environment.
Okay, another question from similar. Do you guys offer scanning services?
Scanning services are handled either by local scan service providers who have a professional setup to do high-speed scanning. A lot of scanning is required upfront when you digitize your personnel file. The ongoing scanning can be done either through a mailroom setup or, as you demonstrated, Chris, through a desktop scan platform, which is available anywhere between $500 to $1,500 per scanner per desktop to set up a scanning functionality. Many documents these days are PDF documents to begin with, and if you have Word documents, those can be, or Excel documents, those can be rendered into PDF documents. So there is a shrinking number of paper documents, and for most companies the backfile conversion, dealing with the old documents and putting those into paper, into electronic records from paper, is the biggest task. And we have excellent companies, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast, that we've been dealing with in the past, who helped us with those record conversions on a highly professional basis.
So another follow-up question to our is XFT personnel file only used in SAP? The follow-up question is, SAP is only used for financial departments.
Mm-hmm. If SAP is used for your financial departments, you have all the infrastructure in place that allows you to run the XFT personnel file, which is a great advantage. If you use your the UI5 interfaces, and the structuring could be made available in this very much the same way. We would have to either call the XFT personnel file through your PeopleSoft application, which could be done by integrating a link, very much like integrating linkage into SuccessFactors. So yeah, if that is the case, we could definitely look into ways how to structure that. If you'd be interested, well, we'll set up a meeting with one of our technical engineers to discuss the opportunities further.
Okay, last question here. How is the personnel file information safeguarded?
The personnel file information is safeguarded through the primary access method, which is through SAP, either SuccessFactors or on-premise SAP GUI. And as with all SAP applications, you have to authenticate yourself before you can enter the application, and that authentication and role identification is passed on to our SuccesFactors application, and it determines which files you can see and which you can't, and what you can do with those files and what you can't do. The document security itself is depending on the security mechanisms of the underlying archiving solution you use, and that could be an OpenText system, a SAP content server, a KGS storage solution. There's about 80, 90 different storage solutions out there that are SAP certified. All of those would qualify, but the security mechanisms available vary by solution, and we are connected in the industry and will be very much in a position to help you point you the right direction should you not have an existing archive already. Now, if you have an existing archive already, it's easy enough to carve out a separate section that can be secured, and the security, the line security, communication security is all handled by SAP Archive Links. So it's HTTPS security, and it also uses certificates security certificates, PSE file base that are sent from SAP to the archiving system to retrieve the documents and display them on your screen. And obviously you can only see the documents you're authorized to see. So that's how security is handled, and be more than happy to evaluate with you what security you have in place today and how we can manage to set it up or help you set it up in a secure way so that you can secure your very important HR records. That's it.
Okay, it actually concludes our questions for today. I just want to thank everybody, and please don't hesitate to follow up with any of us. Thanks for everyone's time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on, and we hope to hear from you soon. Our phone number is on the screen, and you can also reach out in person to Chris or me, and be happy to answer your questions. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon. Bye.